Right, just let me get the final details sorted. Okay, right, cool. Hello, how's it going? Nelson Stein. Welcome back to Chill Out on Fishing, except this time we're coming with a twist. I've previously made predictions on certain seasons, like following the genuine football leagues, Serie A, Premier League, etc. And of course, I did analysis of the current Formula One season, which, by the way, is going pretty much exactly as I expected. Um, Perhaps the Red Bull's doing a little bit better than I expected. Um, Nevertheless, here we are. Oh, virtual bass tournament, excellent. Well, I guess I might as well just stay here because I am just going to be talking about the World Cup today. So I'm not really going to focus on getting too much fishing done. Fishing's not really, it's not really the important thing in this video. Right, so I think we should get into the important part of this video, and that's talking about the Russia 2018 World Cup, which, by the way, has started brilliantly. I think we all kind of expected Russia to win. Maybe we would have liked to see the Saudis grab a goal. It's always nice to see the underdogs score because they look so happy, they're so amped up, and hey, scoring goals like that could lead to another Iceland. If they have that belief, they'll keep scoring. So it was a bit of a shame to see them get completely dominated by Russia, but my God. Considering Russia are the lowest ranked side in the World Cup, 5-0 is crazy. They've definitely upped their ante in front of their home crowd. And it wasn't just the pressure or the defensive ability. It was the finesse. I have to say, particularly of the likes of Cheryshev and Golovin. I think if they put in at least another performance or two like that, I think we could see the likes of Cheryshev potentially getting a decent move to Italy, maybe France. I could definitely see him perhaps as a Monaco bench player. I think that's a move that would suit Cheryshev, because even though you think of him and you think, oh, who's that guy? He's a nobody. You've got to remember the guy is, at the end of the day, he's either ex-Real Madrid or he's on loan from Real Madrid. I can't remember which it is, but either way, he might not be the best player to your recollection, but my God, he put in a hell of a performance yesterday against Saudi Arabia, and definitely got us off to a good start in the World Cup. As for Golovin, with that first performance, with a free kick and 2 assists, I think he could be Prem bound. I think if he was into it, I could see Golovin potentially being a replacement in the central midfield for perhaps Arsenal. I see him in Arsenal colours. If I'm completely honest, I don't think Chelsea would need him. I don't think Man City need him. Having said that, with Yaya Toure leaving, is there a spot on the bench for someone like Golovin at Man City? I think he's got to prove himself a bit more. Maybe just getting a little hyped up over one match that was against Saudi Arabia. But if they prove that wasn't a fluke, Russia might be able to do some serious damage. And definitely put a spin on my prediction, because even though Egypt do have Mohamed Salah, if they can't show the consistency of Russia, it's not going to happen, is it? We could well be Russia who qualify second from this group. I think we should. It shouldn't really be in doubt that Uruguay are going to top the group. I think Uruguay are definitely the best team in that group. Having said that, they can make mistakes. And, although they have a formidable attack and a half-decent midfield, they have a half-aging and half-inconsistent defensive backline. So Uruguay, it can go either or, can it? It'll be interesting to see. But I think Uruguay will top the group. I think Russia and Egypt is the crucial game in that group, for sure. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. I think with that 5-0... I think even if they were to pick up some points, I think Saudi Arabia's goal difference is going to be hurt from now on. If you concede three or more in a World Cup match, it's not good. If you losing 2-0 is devastating, losing 3-0 is devastating, but when you start to get into your 4-1s, your 4-0s, your 5-0, that's when you might realize your World Cup is over before it's even properly began. And I think Saudi Arabia, they'll attack the last match with nothing to lose, so I think they'll leave with a point. But I do not see them doing any damage. They might be the reason. They might be that game where they decide to up the ante. Could be the game that again decides the league. We're only one match in, so everything is still very much open. So now we're gonna go away from that now, because we've now talked about Group A to shit, and well, I tell you what, I am definitely moving on. Right. I just need to double check something. By the way, if anyone's wondering what I'm using to monitor my predictions, I'm using the World Cup prediction app, which I'm not sure if it's available. I'm not sure if it's available on iPhone, but it certainly is here. Right. So let's have a look. The maximum amount of points I could have got was 251, but I only got 46. I predicted a Russia win. I predicted it was going to be a 2-1 Russia win, though, not a 5-1. And the bonus prediction was guess the team who will receive the most free kicks. I picked Saudi Arabia, and it ended up being Saudi Arabia. And just so we go through the results from today before I move on to the next group, my predictions for today's matches are a little bit varied. I struggled with the Morocco one, and I'll tell you why. Because I do not have a clue how good Iran are. I just know Morocco have if you were to pick a strong place in their team, it would be the defense. So I seen them keeping a clean sheet, and I see Iran. It's just one of the smaller countries. You just never know if they're going to be the one to up the ante in the World Cup and dominate. Well, unfortunately, I'm going with 2-1 Morocco today. 2-0 Morocco today. It might even be a 0-0 draw. I think that would be my second prediction if I had to pick one. But yeah, I'm going 2-0 Morocco, and the important game in the group, Uruguay-Egypt. I think if we want to see them both go through, I think a draw for both of them would be an ideal start, because this is the hardest game in the league for both of them. I'm sorry, I think I just roped in Morocco and Iran in the same group as them. Forget that. But no, actually, even with Russia and Saudi Arabia, yeah, Egypt and Uruguay, this is your hardest match. I think Mohamed Salah is going to start us off with a wonderful goal with Egypt, but I think Uruguay's crushing presence in midfield and up top is going to dominate after that. So I've got 3-1 Uruguay. The extra prediction is first player to score. I'm not allowed to pick it yet, but as I've told you, I think it's going to be Mohamed Salah. Or I'm going to pick whoever is working with Mohamed Salah, because even though we've talked about his 44 goals, Salah has had a lot of assists this season as well. So it's a pretty good combination. Anyway, finally, Group B. Briefly touched up on it with Morocco and Iran because of my mistake. We're going for 2-0 Morocco. And the extra for this is guess the player to make the most tackles. Well, if I was going off talent, I would say it was going to be Morocco centre-back Benatia, but that's just going off of, a FIFA statistic or whatever, or the fact that he's a better player. I think I'll have to look at the lineups first. I'm not to make a decision on that until 3 o'clock today, so I will leave that. The only game everyone's probably interested in this evening, anyway, is Euro champions versus 2010 world champions, and I believe were they the 2020 were they the 2012 European champions? I cannot remember who won. I think it was Spain. I'd be shocked if it wasn't Spain. Anyway, um, this isn't an easy one because Cristiano Ronaldo is like Messi. Um, the difference between Portugal and Argentina is that Argentina do have a lot more world class players, particularly up front and in midfield. Again, Portugal kind of have a fine balance of really solid players in every position, and then Cristiano Ronaldo, who is, as we all know, like Messi, is that extra cut above everyone else. So you've got to weigh in a player with that kind of ability, but then you've got to weigh in the fact that half of the Spanish squad have won multiple Champions Leagues. You know, these are winning players. Several of them at Barca, several of them at Real Madrid, serial winners, players who get an absolute bollocking if they don't win a football match. These guys are, you know, the attitude the Spanish have to football is the sort of attitude you would kind of expect from the Germans. But the Germans under Jogi Löw, they're very different, aren't they? You know, they're not like the aggressive Germans that you would usually expect to see. It's a clinical German team. Like, they're very laid back and they're very relaxed when it comes to friendlies and the smaller tournaments. But as soon as the Euros or the World Cup is just around the corner or qualifying's on, the Germans just flick the switch and bang, they are up there in the top 4 teams. You can never ever rule out Germany, and you can never ever rule out Spain. And for that reason, I'm going to say this prolific winners at Spain are going to beat Portugal 1-0. It's going to be very tight. I think Ronaldo is going to come very close a couple of times. He does every game he plays. If he doesn't score, he's always close. So I'm going 1-0 Spain. And the extra prediction is player to record the first goal assist. Okay, this is interesting. Well, that one goal. And now, obviously, I can't make a prediction unless I see the starting 11. I might have to change my previous predictions because I haven't seen the starting 11 and they haven't been announced yet. But I think if I was Fernando Hierro, who, by the way, talking about that, I think it's an utter disgrace that Lopetegui has been sacked 2 or 3 days before the World Cup began. That's why I think even though Spain will be dominant, they're not going to be insanely good like they were. That's why I only picked 1-0. I think if Lopetegui had... whatever. You know who I mean. The old Spanish manager. I reckon if he was still there, I think Spain would have walked all over Portugal, maybe 3-0, maybe 4-0. But with this mental block, Spain still have a vastly better squad than Portugal. But it's only going to be 1-0. And for that reason, I see the assist coming from either David Silva or we'll go, if he's in the squad, of course, we'll go Marco Asensio. Obviously, we'll have to see that when the time comes. So, we've talked about Group A. We talked about the favourites, Uruguay, Egypt, but Russia proving that they may be a major upset even though it's their home territory. Russia getting through that group, in my mind, would be an upset because they are the lowest ranked team in the World Cup. The next game, 12th of June, tomorrow, we start Group C. And we start with the French versus the Australians. Wow. Yeah, you know, you'd never think that would be an exciting game, but I tell you, I am red hot excited for that match. France are going to come out of the blocks attacking Australia to hell. And as we've all learned, Australia usually do get beaten in that circumstance, but they put up a hell of a fight. And the French, as amazing as their team is no one else shocked at just how inconsistent the French? I mean, everyone's still baffled that Portugal won the Euros. The fact that they even had a chance, especially when Ronaldo came off. When Ronaldo came off in the Euro 16, that was it. Everyone probably said, "Well, this is it. It's France's," and they just couldn't. They just couldn't capitalize, and I think it's because their manager is second rate. I do. I think if I was the French FA, I think right now, um, after this, I think an interesting choice, almost like a part-time job for him. I think Arsene Wenger should take charge of France. I seriously do, and I think with that respect, imagine the people he could bring in to be co-managers. He'd probably steal Henri off Belgium. Um, of course, Vieira recently accepted a manager job, so that's probably not going to happen. But you've got Robert Perez, Mikel Arteta from Man City, although he is happy there. If you're one of these players who have huge respect to Arsene Wenger, you're gonna go, aren't you? I mean, I would. And that's me saying I would, and I'm a Chelsea fan. I've not liked Arsene Wenger one moment, but I will say you've got to respect what he's done. I mean, he hasn't won anything major in years, but I can also say none of our managers had an unbeaten season in the Premier League. It doesn't matter if you're a Man U fan, a Tottenham fan, a Man City fan, Chelsea fan, Liverpool fan. Only Arsenal have done it. You know, and you can't take that away from them. You can't. You can hate on them all the want, but that achievement is Arsene Wenger's and the players who were part of it. Um, I think he should definitely be the next French manager because I see Deschamps getting sacked. Because even though I see France doing well, as I'm about to tell you the score for the France-Australia prediction, as I've said, I don't think Deschamps is a good enough manager for a team of stars that great. Like when you think about the legendary managers that get drafted in to look after legendary players in the national team or with club teams, particularly club teams. You're not going to see, unless you're Barcelona, I suppose, you're not going to see Bayern Munich hire some randomer as a manager. No, no. When Ancelotti left, they brought in the guy who won them the treble before Guardiola stepped in. Yeah, and exactly, Guardiola was in before Ancelotti, and you think if that's the sort of caliber of manager you need to look after players like that, then surely the national team shouldn't be any different. I mean, you see Gareth Southgate as manager of England, and personally, I think the man previously appointed to him, Sam Allardyce, was even. I wouldn't say he was less qualified, but I would say it's definitely not something I've seen him doing. 2 secs. Oh, we've been catching a lot of rubbish recently. Sorry about that. I was busy. Right. Extras aside, let's cut to the chase. I've made the claim about the manager, and I've also told you Australia are going to fight back. So, let's get kick-started. The French are going to score 4, Australia are going to score 2. And the team to commit the least number of fouls is going to be the French. Are they the same group? Oh, they are in the same group. Nice. Okay, next match. Argentina versus Iceland. Ooh. Now that's an interesting one. That's a very interesting one. Iceland. The underdog, huh? The ultimate underdog. The only underdog that actually went on to become an underdog. Not just someone who said, oh, they're the underdogs, and then they crumble out. Someone who actually took it and tried to get further. I have a lot of respect for Iceland because of that. But as I mentioned Portugal earlier, you see, I think Portugal could beat Iceland. And I think Argentina have a better squad than Iceland. So, I'm going with 2-0 Argentina. Get your typical goal from Messi, and hopefully Paulo Dybala makes a bit of an international name for himself. Player to run the furthest is the extra condition I've been given. That's going to be difficult. Again, until I see the lineups, I probably can't make a decision on that one. Same with this next one. I really don't know what I'm going to pick. Nonetheless, here we go. Peru versus Denmark. I don't really know any good players from Peru. There's probably one outstanding. It's not coming to my head, but I can't think of one. But then whereas I think of an outstanding player from Denmark, I think we're all starting to get a little spoiled. Like, some people think he's Dutch, some people think he's Swedish. But the young, very exciting striker Kasper Dolberg, I am 90% sure is Danish. So this could be a big chance for him to make a name for himself. Because right now, of the young strikers in the world, Gabriel Jesus and Timo Werner and your Neymars and all that are proving why they're there. Dolberg's at Ajax. He's not going to get a chance to prove himself on a big stage there. He does now at a World Cup. So I think we're going to see a good goal from the youngster Dolberg, assuming I'm right about his nationality. And we're going to see a lovely free kick or a whipped goal from, of course, Denmark's main man, Christian Eriksen, who, by the way, in the qualifying was ridiculous. He was probably, arguably, one of the best players, not just in Europe, but out of all the qualifying. You had your goal scorers, but by God, he was solid. And first player to receive a yellow card, no clue. Right. Next. We've got Croatia versus Nigeria. This one's an interesting one. Another interesting one. I see only one winner. I see a good match, though. I see Croatia winning, being the first team to score, potentially being 2-0 up, and then conceding a late goal to the Nigerians. Nigeria's got a solid squad, but Croatia... You know, it's amazing that they haven't achieved that much success with the players they've got. Mario Mandzukic, Ivan Rakitic, Luka Modric. The list doesn't really go on and on, but there's a good 7 or 8, world class, really good players in the Croatian team. So really, the excuses should be off the table. They should really win that game. But the Nigerians will put up a good fight, so 2-1. Next game, Costa Rica, Serbia. Alright, we're finally going to get into the boring games now. So far I've predicted wins all round for people, but this is going to be my first draw. I'm going with Costa Rica and Serbia 1-1. The team to make the most ball recoveries, I've predicted to be Costa Rica, because I think the Serbians are going to try and push, and Costa Rica are just going to hold on there, get the point, do what they have to do, because that's what they did in 2014. And I think they're very capable of doing something very similar again. The game after that, my pick to win the World Cup, Germany. Germany versus Mexico. And you know what? I actually toyed with the idea that it might be a draw. I did toy with the idea it might be a draw because Mexico really do throw a spanner into the works. They always have. Mexico are a much better side than people give them credit for. And the thing is with them is that there's no real talent where you say, oh yeah, he's world class. There's just a lot of players who are pretty good. Javier Hernandez, Giovanni Dos Santos, Fabian. Is it just Fabian or is that his first name? He's a midfielder. Either way. 2-1 Germany. But Mexico could get a draw out of it. I'm not ruling out a draw, but I think for my preference 2-1 for Germany. Now we're getting into the last couple of games where it's going to get even more interesting, and I'm going to rattle through these because I don't have a lot of time. Brazil versus Switzerland. I could talk about Brazil forever. I'm going with 3-1 to Brazil. I think Switzerland always put up a good fight, but Brazil are going to win. They have been the best team coming into this, and I think they could be, one of the best teams leaving as well. The player to complete the most passes, Brazil, I don't know. We'll say Coutinho for now, but until we see the starting 11, can't make a prediction. Sweden versus the Korean Republic, South Korean Republic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. There are good players in both teams. One player, I'd say two players are borderline world class. Forsberg of Sweden and Son from Costa Rica, from Korea. Team to receive the most corners, I'm going to say Sweden. I think Sweden will be the more attacking team, but Korea will have the far more deadly counter-attack because of Son, who's practiced counter-attacks with Tottenham for years now. He'll be a threat to Sweden. If it's not going to be a 1-1 draw, it's going to be a 2-1 win for Sweden, which is what I'm going with. I think they'll just bully Korea Republic, even without Ibrahimovic. And we're getting into the last four games of the first round. So let's just flash through them. Belgium versus Panama. Belgium are a good team, but I see them doing better, so we're going to go 2-0 Belgium. Player to take the most shots. For now, I'll say Lukaku. Tunisia versus England. This is a team that needs to win matches. England 2, Tunisia 1. Team to cover the most distance, England. They've got to work if they want that win. So I'm putting faith that they will be the team to make the most runs. Colombia versus Japan. Japan don't really have that much of an attacking force or a defensive prowess, whereas Colombia do, and a solid midfield. So I'm going 3-1 Colombia. Japan will cause an issue, but Colombia are going to walk all over them. Player to make most deliveries into penalty area. That's a tricky one. Again, I'll have to wait to see the score. And the last match is Poland versus Senegal. Poland were one of the best teams coming into the World Cup, and Lewandowski was the joint top goal scorer along with the Saudi Arabian striker Al Shaarawy. Not El Shaarawy. But Senegal have kind of emerged as this new powerhouse, or a refreshed powerhouse in Africa. And I think out of all the African teams there, I think Senegal's the one that has the strongest chance of a push. So I'm going to go with Poland 2. We're going to see Lewandowski strike. But I think Senegal are going to hold them to a point in the first game. I think Senegal is going to surprise us. And the team to record the lowest amount of yellow cards, my prediction is Senegal, because I think they're going to really annoy the Polish. So, yeah, that's the predictions. Out of that, if I was to say one of them was going to be wrong, geez, if I was going to say one of them was going to be wrong, I'd probably say the France-Australia game. I think 4-2 is very ambitious. That's assuming the French can actually score those 4 goals. But anyway, that's my predictions. We've got some games tonight. Obviously, I don't think I'll be able to do this every day, but I'll try to do it as much as I can. Obviously, there's going to be a while until match day 2, but I've given you my predictions for match day 1 of the World Cup. Everyone take care. Goodbye.
Daniel.